3. The illusion of disunity. The third illusion is, disunity exists. The only escape from the conundrum of the second illusion was to create a third. The creator and the creations were not all one. This required the human mind to conceive of the possibility of the impossible, that that which is one is not one, that that which is unified is really separate. This is the illusion of disunity, the idea that separation. Your species reasoned that if creations were separate from the creator, and if the creator allowed the creations to do whatever they pleased, it would then be possible for the creations to do something that the creator did not want them to do. Under these circumstances, the will of the creator could be thwarted. God could want something but not get it. Disunity produces the possibility of failure, and failure is only possible if need exists. One illusion depends upon another. The first three illusions are the most crucial. So important are these illusions, so key are they in supporting the rest, that separate cultural stories were assigned to them in order to explain them, and to assure that they would be explained clearly and often. Each of your cultures created its own special story, but all of them made the same basic points, each in their own way. One of the most famous is the story of Adam and Eve. It is said that the first man and the first woman were created by God and lived happily in the Garden of Eden, or paradise. There they enjoyed eternal life and communion with the divine. In exchange for this gift of life idyllic, God is said to have required only one thing. Do not, he commanded, eat of the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. According to this legend, Eve ate of the fruit anyway. She disobeyed orders. But it was not entirely her fault. She was tempted by a serpent, who in reality was a being you have called Satan or the devil. And just who is this devil? He is, one story has it, an angel gone bad, a creation of God who dared to want to be as great as his creator. This, the story says, is the ultimate offense, the supreme blasphemy. All creation should honor the creator and never seek to be as great or greater. In this particular version of the main cultural story, you have deviated from your normal pattern by ascribing to me certain qualities that are not reflected in human experience. Human creators actually want their offspring to strive to be as great, if not greater, than they. It is the greatest pleasure of all healthy parents to see their children reach and exceed their own station in life and to surpass their own achievements. God, on the other hand, was said to have been dishonored by this and deeply offended. Satan, the fallen angel, was cast away, separated from the flock, shunned, damned, and suddenly there were two powers in ultimate reality, God and Satan, and two places from which they operated, heaven and hell. It was Satan's desire, according to the story that developed, to tempt humans to disobey the will of God. God and Satan were now in competition for man's soul. And, fascinatingly, this was a competition that God could lose. All of this proved that I was not an all-powerful God after all. Or that I was all-powerful but didn't want to use my power because I wanted to give Satan a fair chance. Or that it wasn't about giving Satan a fair chance, it was about giving human beings free will. Except that if you exercised your free will in a way I did not approve of, I would hand you over to Satan, who would torture you for eternity. Such are the convoluted stories that have grown into religious doctrine on your planet. In the story of Adam and Eve, many people believed I punished the first man and the first woman for Eve's eating of the forbidden fruit by casting them out of the Garden of Eden. And, if you can believe this, I punished every other man and woman who ever lived after that, burdening them with the first human's guilt, and sentencing them to also be separate from me throughout their lives on earth. Through this and other equally colorful stories, the first three illusions were conveyed in a dramatic fashion that children, in particular, would not soon forget. So successful were these stories in injecting fear into the hearts of children that they were repeated over and over to each new generation. Thus the first three illusions were deeply embedded in the human psyche. 1. God has an agenda. Need exists. 2. The outcome of life is in doubt. Failure exists. 3. You are separate from God. Disunity exists. While the idea that need and failure exists is crucial to the rest of the illusions, the idea that disunity exists has the most impact on human affairs. The impact of the third illusion is felt by the human race to this day. If your thought about the third illusion is that it is true, you shall have one experience of life. If your thought is that it is not true but is, in fact, an illusion, you shall have another. these two experiences will be dramatically different. Currently, nearly everyone on your planet believes the illusion of disunity to be real. As a result, people feel separate from God and separate from each other. The feeling of separation from me makes it extremely difficult for people to relate to me in any meaningful way. They either misunderstand me or fear me, or they beg for my help, or they deny me altogether. In so doing, humans have missed a glorious opportunity to use the most powerful force in the universe. They have subjected themselves to lives over which they imagine they have no control, under conditions they think they cannot change, producing experiences and outcomes they believe they cannot escape. They live lives of quiet desperation, offering up their pain, suffering it gladly, believing that their silent bravery will earn them sufficient favor to get into heaven, where they will receive their reward. There are many reasons that suffering without undue complaining may be good for the soul, but ensuring one's reward in heaven is not one of them. Courage is its own reward, and there can never be a good reason to cause other people suffering, which is what complaining does. The master therefore never complains, and so limits the suffering outside of himself, and inside as well. Yet, the master does not refrain from complaining in order to limit suffering, but because the master does not interpret the experience of pain as suffering, but simply as pain. Pain is an experience. Suffering is a judgment which is made about that experience. The judgment of many is that the pain they are experiencing is not okay and should not be occurring. Yet the degree to which pain is accepted as perfect is the degree to which suffering in life may be eliminated. It is through this understanding that masters overcome all suffering, although they may not escape all pain. Even people who have not achieved mastery have experienced the difference between pain and suffering. An example of this might be having a badly aching tooth pulled. It hurts to have the tooth pulled, but it is very welcome pain. Their feeling of separation from me prevents humans from using me, calling upon me, having a friendship with me, harnessing the full potential of my creative and healing power, either to end suffering or for any other purpose. Their feeling of separation from each other allows humans to do all manner of things to each other that they would never do to themselves. By failing to see that they are doing these things to themselves, they produce and reproduce unwelcome results in their daily lives and in their planetary experience. It has been said that the human race is facing the same problems that it has faced since the dawn of recorded history, and this is true but to a lesser degree all the time. Greed, violence, jealousy, and other behaviors that you do not believe benefit anyone are still displayed by members of your species, although now by the minority. This is a sign of your evolution. Yet efforts in your society are directed not nearly so much at seeking to change these behaviors as seeking to punish them. It is thought that punishing them will correct them. Some people are still not understanding that until they correct the conditions in society which create and invite unwanted behaviors, they will correct nothing. A truly objective analysis proves this, yet many people ignore that proof and continue trying to solve society's problems with the same energy that created them. They seek to end killing with killing, to end violence with violence, to quell anger with anger. In doing all of this, they fail to see their hypocrisy and thus embody it. Recognizing the first three illusions as illusions would stop everyone from denying the oneness of all life and threatening to destroy all life on your planet. Many humans continue to see themselves as separate from each other, from all other living things, and from God. They see that they are destroying themselves, yet they claim not to understand how they are doing it. Surely, they say, it is not through their individual actions. They cannot see the connection between their individual decisions and choices and the world at large. These are the beliefs of many, and if you wish to see them changed, it is up to you who truly understand cause and effect to change them. For your fellow humans believe that it is having no negative effect on the whole to cut down hundreds of thousands of trees each week so that they can have their Sunday paper. It is having no negative effect on the whole to pump impurities of every sort into the atmosphere so that they can have their lifestyles unchanged. It is having no negative effect on the whole to use fossil fuels rather than solar-powered energy. It is having no negative effect on the whole to smoke cigarettes or eat red meat at every meal or consume large quantities of alcohol, and they're tired of people telling them that it is. It is having no negative effect, they say, and they're tired of people telling them that it is. Individual human behaviors, they tell themselves, are not having such a negative effect on the whole that they could actually cause the whole to collapse. That would only be possible if there was nothing that was separate. If, in effect, the whole was doing all of this to itself. And that is silly. The third illusion is true. We are separate. Still, the separate actions of all the separate beings who are not one with each other, and not one with all of life, seem, in fact, to have a very real effect on life itself. Now, at last, more and more humans are beginning to acknowledge this as they develop from primitive cultural thinking into a more evolved society. This is because of the work that you and others like you are doing. For you have raised your voice. You have sounded the alarm. You have joined the effort to awaken each other, each in your own way, some quietly and individually, some in groups. In days gone by, there were not nearly as many of you ready and able to awaken the others. And so the mass of people lived deep within the illusions and were puzzled. Why should the fact that they are separate from each other create a problem? How is it that anything other than communal living, one for all and all for one, could not be made to work without struggle? These are the questions humans began to ask. Clearly there was a flaw in the third illusion. This should have revealed the idea of disunity to be false, but humans knew at some very deep level that they could not give up the illusion, or something very vital would come to an end. Again they were right. But again they made a mistake. Instead of seeing the illusion as an illusion, and using it for the purpose for which it was intended, they thought they had to fix the flaw. It was to fix the flaw in the third illusion that the fourth illusion was created.